And we're back. This video is the 7 Deadly Sins of Writing Hazbin Hotel. It's about 48 minutes as well, so let's go ahead and get started here.
Ah, there we go. This should be the right place. Now, where's that hotel?
Already, we have a person that knows how to make an opening and is well with editing. Here we go, baby.
So Amazon recently came out with a new animated series called Hazbin Hotel, based on one of the most viewed animated pilots on YouTube. It was created by Vivienne Madrano, otherwise known as VivziePop, who is a pretty well-known name in the online space. As someone who followed her work from
This is sad, but that's the first time I saw Vivzie. After all my reaction videos and after doing all this, this is the first time I know what she looks like. She looks like a perfectly normal person. Can you believe that? Wow.
Small-time YouTube animator to a series director, I have nothing but praise for VivziePop's determination to pursue her dreams. And I'm sure her success story will inspire many other artists and animators to do the same.
She has a Discord on her computer! We're talking about a true gamer here. She's not just an animator. We got a Discord user. Give her a round of applause.
I wish I could say the same about the show's writing. Despite the great animation and the performances from the voice actors, there are glaring issues with the world building, plot, character development, and dialogue, showing that there's still a lot of room for improvement.
What are your
Considering there were 10
sins?
people on the writing team, including VivziePop herself, I'm surprised that it was this bad.
Who wrote this?
It's great, right?
But instead of going through the entire series and pointing out all the problems, I decided to section off the problems into different categories. And since the theme is hell, I decided to call them the 7 Deadly Sins of Modern Writing. And trust me, Hazbin Hotel is far from the only one who's committing these sins. I can point to a lot of adult animations that have the same problems. So it might be an industry issue, rather than a Hazbin Hotel issue. So to quickly catch up to speed with the story, Hazbin Hotel revolves around Charlie Morningstar, the Princess of Hell, on her quest to find a way for sinners to be rehabilitated and allowed into heaven. To do this, she creates the Hazbin Hotel.
And guess what? That's a phenomenal premise for a show, and that's what I wanted to see more of the show of. I wanted to see that, and I don't think I got that. I think I was misinformed.
As an alternative to heaven's annual extermination of wayward souls due to hell's overpopulation. At least that's what the summary tells me. And speaking of telling things, let's go to sin number 1. I'm going straight for the worst one, as I consider bad exposition to be the cardinal sin of all storytelling. For those who don't know, exposition is where a character is conveying information.
Hey, we got 2 legends here in the chat. We got Cougar, which I'm sure there's going to be a great clip. Here we go.
People, I think that's when it got a little...
Cougar got a beard and a mustache now? I wasn't. He's looking good. He really chilled out, dude. He's a cool dude. Cougar's been here since day 1, and I really appreciate that. That was pretty good. I like that clip. Thank you. And then Big Fluffy Puppy, which is... I love this guy. He's a great guy. Does he not have a clip? Kyle, what are you doing? You don't have clips on your channel? Really?
Through dialogue that is more intended to inform the audience rather than the other characters.
I'm such a bad liar.
If it isn't my arch nemesis.
You are buying parts from an overlord?
Of course. She's the top weapons dealer in hell.
Exposition on its own isn't bad, as good writers still need to convey the relevant information to the audience, but they tend to sprinkle that information in between natural-sounding dialogue, or find an interesting way to convey it. Meanwhile, bad exposition feels like fast food.
Oh, dude, I'm having PTSD from the Avatar movie, The Last Airbender. That movie was awful. Ugh.
Feel like a filling meal with all the information provided, but has very little nutritional value. Characters end up telling information other characters already know, or say it in a very boring and unimaginative way.
I've invited you all here because you represent the controlling powers of our city. Together you own millions of souls.
Scarmine?
Yeah, I don't really... They're just saying that. Like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm playing so bad right now. Are you? We'll do better. That's 10. I know you can do better than being bad.
I'm pretty sure they already know that. You don't really need to explain board meetings to the board of directors. So if bad exposition...
You don't need to... He is absolutely right. I didn't even think of that. You don't explain board meetings to the board of directors. Everyone you just said, that was directly towards the audience, because everyone in that room already knows why they're there and who they are.
Exposition is fast food. Hazbin Hotel is the deep-fried Mars bar of exposition.
It may not be the prettiest looking thing, but I'm willing to give it a try.
And sure, a deep-fried Mars bar is better for you than literal glass that is the Netflix Avatar live-action series.
I don't want the responsibility. I'm scared of my power. I'm scared of being alone.
It was awful. Both the Netflix and the movie. That movie was
But it's still not good. Most of the dialogue in Hazbin Hotel is very expository, with characters saying very obvious things in a very direct way.
I'm supposed to make your dreams a reality. I'm supposed to protect you.
I'm the farthest thing from in control.
And this is my escape.
There's no
You game every now and then. S10. I was in an esports league. These are all video games. This is my video game shelf. These are all video games I have, and the bottom row are ones I'm still just planning to stream. I do it way more than you might think. I started this channel playing video games. It's just that I can talk more. I can discuss topics when I watch videos more, and people seem to enjoy my streams more when I can discuss chat and discuss with them. So I flop to reactions. I still upload some gaming to my YouTube channel, but I'm not going to do that too often streaming it, because I want to actually enjoy the conversations I have with people and talk with my audience.
Subtlety or even an attempt to present the information
That's sick,
creatively.
I did not know.
Episode
Yeah.
1 is practically all exposition. And I get it, you want to establish the characters and the premise early, but they still use the laziest techniques when it comes to exposition. It starts off with Charlie reading the story of her family and the rivalry between heaven and hell, accompanied by storybook-inspired
really
visuals. Nothing
oh,
too...
thanks, S10. I really appreciate that. I do. I used to get more people, but I went on a long hiatus of streaming and lost a bunch of people. And then I started back up, and luckily a good friend of mine, Bob, got me into this Discord. I got my motivation back.
bad. I mean, My Little Pony friendship is...
I've pivoted to this because it's way more interesting. As you can see, My Little Pony is highly interesting because everyone knows that I am the ultimate brony, right? I was not expecting My Little Pony to pop up on the screen. I really wasn't.
Magic did the same thing, and that show was written to be understood by kindergartners.
Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria.
Once upon a time, there was a glowing city protected by
Holy
golden
crap, they
gates
really did
known
take
as
a
heaven.
children's
There
cartoon.
were two regal sisters who ruled together.
It was ruled by beings of pure light.
Did they really
The two
take it from
sisters
My Little
maintained
Pony?
balance for their kingdom and their subjects.
Angels that worshipped good and shielded all from evil.
Are you
The
kidding
younger
me?
sister became resentful.
But he was seen as a troublemaker by the elders of heaven.
She vowed that she would shroud the land in eternal night.
For with this single act of disobedience, evil finally found its way into Earth.
Using the magic of the elements of harmony, she defeated her younger sister and banished her permanently in the moon.
Heaven cast Lucifer and his love into the dark pit he had created, never allowing him to see the
What?
good that came from humanity.
Though that
Wait a second, what? I never saw those parallels. In fact, I never seen My Little Pony's opening. That seemed like a direct kind of rip, dude. How did I not know this?
That's not even my main criticism. A storybook opening can be used to establish the fairy tale nature of the story, or bring viewers up to speed with the relevant information. But in Hazbin Hotel, the story of Lucifer, Lilith, and Adam are not relevant yet, and neither of them really impact what happens in the rest of the episode, making most of the backstory completely pointless. Also, Charlie reading the story of hell after the annual extermination happened rubs me the wrong way. She says the story helps her cope, but I can't quite understand how. I can understand wanting to distract yourself from the horrors of the actual extermination, but I don't know if reading about the extermination and the tragic tale of hell is the way to go about it. It may just be me, but if my kind is being exterminated, the last thing I'd do is read a story about it. This scene
is
feels
true.
more like Charlie's reading to the audience, not for herself, which I'd classify as bad exposition. Interestingly enough, you don't need to look too far for a better example, as Vivzy Pop's Hazbin Hotel pilot starts off treating the audience with much more maturity, as the song I'm Always Chasing Rainbows is juxtaposed with the unnerving.
I do agree. I think the pilot should have just been left into the series. I don't think they should have started with episode 1. The pilot did a way better job explaining these things, and in fact, the show was left kind of empty without it, because so much exposition was given so way better, like such as Alistair and such, that without the pilot you're missing on so much information that it's crazy. It's genuinely crazy.
Visuals and the subtle imagery that hints at the story but doesn't outright explain what it is, and it doesn't need to yet. But this sequence does well is capture the mood, which is a somber and a bleak one that lets us better understand Charlie's perspective. The fairy tale sequence is how she perceives her own tragic existence as the observer of this cruel and unjust system, unable to do anything about it. It's very appropriate that we first see Charlie entering a balcony, as it complements her current fate as a helpless observer, but also starts to establish her role as the Princess of Hell. You can get multiple interpretations from a few of these shots alone. First, we establish the setting by showcasing the
That
empty
she's
streets of
depressed.
hell. Regardless whether it looks like this all the time or if it's just especially bad after the extermination, it visually indicates that this place is a kingdom that has fallen. Then, we cut to Charlie walking towards the balcony. Pay attention to the shot composition. Look how Charlie's centered in the frame, with the city in front of her. A shot like this can often be used to indicate a character's importance in the setting and the story. We then cut to a close-up that still offers us plenty of information, including Charlie's lack of confidence and her emotional state. Even the way she goes across the frame gives us a sense of bleakness and defeat. I love a good wide shot. Not only do we see Charlie's despair from her body language, we also see the location and the clock tower with the countdown timer. By having Charlie and the clock in the same frame allows us to make the connection between the clock and all the despair that we already saw. It's simple and effective. And look how much we get out of one gesture as Charlie raises her finger and shoots fireworks into the air. We actually established that Charlie has some importance in hell, as she's the one there to let the other demons know that the extermination is over, and they're free to come out. Now, could she have made an announcement or rang a bell? Absolutely not. I mean, yes,
Okay.
technically she could have, but it's so...
I had no idea that the fireworks meant the extermination was over, and I did not get that conclusion until this video. So I don't think that was well conveyed. Or maybe I'm just dumb.
much more thematic to have fireworks, as they are synonymous with the new year. And New Year complements the premise of the show, which is breaking out of bad habits and seeking redemption. After all, we all know the phrase, New Year, New Me, and we're all familiar with the concept of New Year's resolutions. It's a fitting motif, to say the least. See how much more I got from this opening in the pilot compared to the first episode? From episode 1, I got the information, but from the pilot, I got that, and I got a better understanding of Charlie, her despair, her desires, and the world she feels responsible for improving. All of that without any dialogue. Meanwhile, Amazon's Hazbin Hotel appears to be almost afraid that the audience won't get the story. So they have to spill it out in plain words. Heck, even repeating the same things over and over again. Do you know how many times the concept of Hazbin Hotel is pitched to us as the audience? I counted 3 times in one episode,
yeah.
which is 3 too many in my book. Vivzy, please. You got your show. You don't need to pitch it again. It's done. Now show us what you can do with this concept. But no, for some reason we need a sarcastic expository advert, a Disney song, and a literal pitch meeting about it. It's not that complicated of a concept, chill. But in case you missed episode 1, they will remind you how the hotel hypothetically works in almost every episode. The sad thing is that the writers aren't even aware how bad their writing is.
The premise was the hotel, right? But I think he's making a fair point here, right? Maybe once or twice to reiterate the premise of the show, sure. Okay, in the first episode, maybe someone hasn't seen the pilot. But I think they did it like 9 times throughout the 8 episodes. It seems like it was a bit of an exaggeration. Especially when they could have used that time fleshing out characters more.
In episode 2, Angel Dust and Sir Penches are performing a play, and Angel Dust comments on Charlie's script writing.
Where's an innocent kid I can sell crack to? Wow, who wrote this?
It's great, right?
The hilarious thing is that the only thing that differentiates Charlie's script and the show script is the performance. If I told the voice actors to say those lines genuinely, you'd find it difficult to tell the difference.
Come on, kid. It'll make you cool like me. The crackhead. I just don't want her to end up in the gutter like I used to.
Whatever, nerd!
He's making a great point. Those two were directly related, weren't they?
I'm honestly not surprised to see a BoJack Horseman writer working on the show. I should have known when I heard the expository dialogue where characters literally tell their flaws in their character traits rather than revealing them through their actions and decisions. Did you know that Charlie has daddy issues?
Actions speak louder than words. Also, I did not know they had daddy issues because it said that she has daddy issue but was never explained, never developed, and I didn't see it in the show. That is a great point because guess what? I didn't see it.
Do you want to know how I know? It's because Alistair told me.
As she tries to work through her daddy issues by fixing you.
Oh, and Husk too.
What's the holdup? You got daddy issues?
Would have been nice to see that from Charlie herself first.
I think Dad was right about me.
The pilot gave a good explanation, but see, we're not going to count the pilot because it's not on Amazon.
But oh well, I guess someone else telling me about it is faster and easier than coming up with a unique scene for that. And we don't want to take away time from establishing more side characters and mystery boxes, right? Actually, I don't think we really explain these deep and complex characters. Let's make it a little bit more obvious. Luckily, Husk helps us out in episode 4.
That one is an insecure buffoon whose loneliness watches you idiots sleep. This one judges everyone and everything because she hates herself. Princess is a bleeding heart who wants to solve everybody else's problems except her own. And you! I see right through you and all this bullshit and how fake you are.
Thanks, I didn't want to use my brain anyway. Want to see more sacrilegious examples of bad writing? Spoilers for episode 5. In this episode, Mimsy, Alistair's friend, gives us the dark and mysterious backstory of Alistair, even going as far as describing how he tears demon souls and broadcasts their screams on his radio show.
All you could hear was screams. Every time an overlord went missing, there'd be a new voice scream.
Except in the pilot, it was done better, and we didn't need this if you already saw the pilot.
In the broadcast.
Edgy stuff, right? And exactly 1 minute later, Alistair tells Husk the exact same thing.
I will tear your soul apart and broadcast your screams for every other disrespectful wretch who dares to question me.
Show, did you have a Biden moment? You told us this like a minute ago? Did you forget? I don't understand. What's the purpose of having both of these scenes? They both serve the same purpose. They're completely repetitive. And you know what? You could have made these scenes work with a bit of editing. You could have had Mimsy telling the story mixed with the scene between Alistair and Husk. Maybe no one exactly knows what the strange and terrifying radio noises are. And then we cut to Alistair revealing what those noises are. The layup was there, but he just missed the slam dunk. But I'm not going to throw all the blame on Rachel Kaplan for this one, as this type of repetitive exposition is consistent throughout the show, regardless of who was writing it. Whatever the reason for this type of writing, I cannot justify it. Maybe if I'm writing a kid's show?
The Elements of Harmony, a reference guide.
But even then, I think some of the kid shows have less exposition than Hazbin Hotel. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic certainly has less, and I wager Bluey does too. Give your audience a chance, Hazbin Hotel. I'm sure you can challenge them more than freaking Bluey.
I hate Bluey so much. Don't even this. Come on. We're not 4.
There, I fixed you.
Yeah, bingo. You did.
The second writing sin is inconsistency. We typically expect characters and plot to stay consistent, progress in a believable way, and stay within the established rules of the world. When characters start acting out of character, or the plot veers off somewhere else, or worse, contradicts the prior established elements, it quickly takes the audience out of the experience. Good writers establish the rules of the world early, and
I think Luke Skywalker was that was a misplacement because that was to shock people. If you're doing it for shock value, then you're okay because you know that they're gonna change later on, And he did in that movie, so I'm going to give him a pass on that.
Have well-defined characters who stay consistent throughout the story. Of course, characters can change, but even their change is coherently built upon through the narrative.
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with Alf.
Think of it as
Do you hear that? It's the worst sound ever.
a road you're taking your audience through. The fewer inconsistencies, the smoother the ride.
It's going to lead to that smooth ride.
And if that's the case, then Hazbin Hotel is a mountain bike course because it's riddled with huge inconsistencies.
Should be interesting.
What are we doing here?
I won't go through every inconsistency in the series because there already are YouTubers like Sarcastic Chorus who
one of the videos that we're going to see today is from this guy. I've never watched this guy, but it seems like it's going to be interesting.
go through it in greater detail, but I will point out some of the more sacrilegious ones, at least in my opinion.
That's not good.
Oh boy, where do I start? I don't know, how about the whole freaking premise? Remember that overpopulation thing that Charlie keeps bringing up? You know, the main reason for the annual exterminations to happen and the reason the Hazbin Hotel was built in the first place? Yeah, that's completely irrelevant.
Have you checked out my stream? Have you, just a random question, when you checked out my stream, was the overlay on? No, I don't believe so, no. I don't believe the overlay was on. Let's see your latest subscriber, none. I see the bottom. Latest follow, Grayson. Streaming 3 hours? Wow. Follower go 11 out of 100. It's looking pretty good, dude. I like it.
Since it's pretty much confirmed in episode 1 that angels are doing the extermination to prevent hell from growing too powerful, not that there's too many sinners in there. I'm serious, Charlie herself reads it in the first 3 minutes of the series.
And as the numbers of hell grew, so did its power. Threatened by this, heaven made a truly heartless decision, an extermination, to ensure hell and its sinners could never rise against them.
Hello, show, are you having a Biden moment again? You're contradicting your own plot here. Not only that, the show states that no sinner has yet been redeemed, so it's not even clear if it's possible or not.
Just because nobody has made it out before doesn't mean it's not possible.
Even the angels don't know the rules or how anyone gets into heaven.
What do you think it takes to get into heaven?
Is everything okay, Adam?
Give me a fucking minute, okay?
Adam tries to write some down, but that's far from being legitimate.
Well, the rules of getting into heaven aren't easily described. As I did it in my reaction video, they should have just took the 10 Commandments and made those the rules of getting into heaven because it's easily recognizable and most people know them. And then there could have been a whole plot, like an entire thing about redemption in the sinners. Dang, see, I need help. Thank you, I need more advice. I need tips.
So how does the show expect us to understand whether...
Like how many tips I can really give you for like Call of Duty and such. As I don't really play many first-person shooters.
Charlie succeeding or failing, or whether her plan is logistically possible. You need to establish some ground rules. You need Charlie to find out how to redeem a sinner and what kind of power is holding them in hell. Charlie's putting the cart before the horse by building a hotel first and only then trying to figure out if it's even possible to redeem a sinner. But
I don't think she's necessarily in the wrong. You don't know if you can redeem someone, but you were there, like, let's say she was doing it for thousands of years, even though she's only 20 years something, whatever. I don't know how old Charlie is. But I still think building the hotel and attempting something is better than doing nothing, which is more than most people. Been asking other streamers for stream mods and stuff. It's because it's tough. Like, I don't have any manual mods in my stream. Because I just don't need them.
Hey, if neither she...
I just don't care.
Nor the Seraphim know. Maybe that could have been the plot of season 1. All you have to do is move episode 8 to episode 1 and start off with the court scene. This way you could have established Charlie as the Prince of Hell, you could have used this time to pitch the hotel, and you could have highlighted the problem that no one knows how to get into heaven. This would make things very straightforward. Sarah, the head Seraphim, could have made an arrangement that if Charlie manages to redeem one soul before the next extermination, they would stop all the exterminations.
Okay, that's a good motto.
Simple, no? Now, you could have had Adam directly involved in sabotaging Charlie's plan. You could have built up Charlie's desperation as the pressure builds up, making her turn to Alistair for help, who would probably play both sides as well. Nice, smooth action and reaction. But nope. Instead of setting up rules for everyone to play by, we just have to take Charlie's word for it, I guess. Speaking of Charlie, let's talk about her daddy issues. You know, that thing that every other character brings up? Sounds really serious.
Except she didn't
but what
have
are
any.
those issues exactly?
Yeah, oh,
the family pictures
that's my
indicate
point.
that Charlie was raised by loving parents, and Lucifer certainly cares a lot about her. Even when he shows up, he doesn't appear to be distant or dismissive. Okay, he's not super into the hotel, but he doesn't say it outright at the start. In fact, he seems to be mindful of his daughter's feelings.
It's got a lot of character. Oh!
He's excited to spend time with her, and even sings about how much he can do for her.
Looks like you could use some help from the big boss of hell himself.
The only time he denies her anything is if he believes that it's gonna harm her, which is what a caring parent typically does. So where exactly are these daddy issues? When I think of
There
daddy
is
issues,
none.
I think of
That's why.
Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion.
That's why there is none. The daddy issues were retconned out of the show. They were supposed to be in, I assume, in the pilot, and then they disappeared.
You disappoint me. I assume that we will never meet again.
A child who has been denied a parent's love because his dad, Gendo Ikari, has more important duties. You know, like saving the world.
I have no time to waste on a petulant child.
The only time Shinji's dad acknowledges his son is when he needs him to pilot the Eva.
I cannot pilot this thing!
Stop wasting time. Either get in the Eva or get out.
Yeah, those are daddy issues.
What?
Yeah.
Well, Father, well...
What is it? Hurry up.
Well...
Don't bother me with such nonsense anymore.
Listen, Dad, I've got kind of a big ask.
Yeah, of course. Anything in my power is yours.
Anything.
Just name it.
Charlie's dad seems
He's
to be
making a great
excited to be in
point
Charlie's
here.
life and is willing to look past the different viewpoints to achieve that. As far as dads go, he's a pretty decent guy. It appeared to me that the pilot was setting Lucifer up to be more of a tyrannical father, like Shinji's dad, who only sees his daughter as a failure and has no faith in her project. He has lost all his hope for hell, and he's simply waiting for her to realize that too. But his absence from his duties as ruler and his failure to protect the denizens of hell could have been the perfect reason for Charlie to be mad at him too, creating the divide between them further. That's what I would class as daddy issues. As it is now, it's completely pointless to point out those daddy issues, especially when they're resolved in the same episode. What's another big one? Oh yeah, Alistair. This wacky Willy Wonka looking fellow is so inconsistent that his inconsistency is the only consistent thing about him. I'm sure some of you are already commenting that that's the point of Alistair and he's meant to be mysterious and unpredictable. You'd argue that we're not supposed to know his true goals yet and everything will make sense in the end. I'd believe that, if not for Sin 1. The show has a proven lack of subtlety. Almost everything about the other characters is served to us on a silver platter. So you'd think they would have the restraint if they had anything figured out for Alistair? No way. It's pretty obvious the writers haven't decided what they're gonna do with him yet, so they're just ping-ponging him around from being a good guy.
You deliberately brought danger to this place just to have me clean up your mess. I can't have that here.
To a chaotic neutral.
Why are you even here?
For the entertainment.
To evil mastermind.
Guess who will be pulling all the strings?
Until they finally make a decision. In the pilot, his reasoning was pretty simple, but also consistent with his role as a shady deal maker. He arrives at the hotel and offers his help to Charlie, with the main reason being that he's simply bored and enjoys watching sinners strive for something better only to fail miserably. And hey, if someone is at the end of the ropes, they're more susceptible to manipulation and deals, so there's motivation for Alistair to stick around. It's a twisted symbiotic relationship where Charlie and Alistair both want sinners to come check in, but have morally opposite reasons, setting the stage for more conflict and drama. Episode 1 tried to establish that with the scene between Alistair and Vaggie, even showing how ready he is to make a deal with someone desperate enough. Problem is that the deal had no meaningful strings attached, making the theatrics completely pointless. They do the same thing in the finale with Charlie and Alistair, but once again, it's not a deal for a soul. Charlie promises Alistair a favor, but I'd wager the writers don't exactly know what the favor actually is. Alistair is definitely a fan favorite in the series.
Yeah, but Alistair wasn't really used that often. He was used for a subplot, and then used just like as a plot device just to make things happen. And he can be used, like, I think he's going to be extremely important in season 2 if it has to do with the deal and the V's. But other than that, like, he's just a cool dude. That's all you can really say about Alistair.
So the creators may just be using him as jangling keys to keep the audience entertained and thinking of what's going to happen next, which again, not great for consistency. But yeah, those are some of the big ones. But there are a ton of inconsistencies that I could have chosen. Like, how about an arms dealer who doesn't want blood on her hands and doesn't want war?
I always thought that I would keep blood off my face.
I didn't even notice that. Carmilla did. It had a whole freaking crap ton of weapons all over her walls.
Ooh, the new parts to my machine are here.
So
The daughters deliver the weapons. Dude, I didn't put that together at all. He's making such a good point here. Camilla doesn't give crap or two nutsacks about anyone else. No, this ain't chill.
Fine, please.
You may want to consider a different career there, Carmine. Or how about Vaggie hiding the fact that she's an exorcist from Charlie? Really? You don't trust Charlie to accept you? Really? Charlie?
I wonder what your bitch would think if she found out you are actually one of us.
How can I turn someone away? I can't. It goes against everything I'm trying to do. Everything I believe in.
The wings are new. They look nice.
Wow.
Come on, let's go home.
Yeah, you're just forcing drama at this point. The third piece of the unholy trinity of writing is convolution, which typically means the writing is unnecessarily complex, confusing, and difficult for audiences to follow and understand. There's a reason why KISS, or keep it simple stupid, is such a liked phrase. It's a philosophy that encourages—
It's extremely true. Especially if you're on the internet. If you're on the internet, you live by KISS.
creators to hone in on the central idea or theme of the story. Some of the best narrative works follow this philosophy. Do you know what the pitch behind the movie Alien was? It was only 3 words long. Jaws in space. That's it. Everything else works to support that premise, which allows them to create more depth without losing track of their core theme. Hazbin Hotel is the opposite of that, as there's no core theme. It seems that VivziePop's goal is to dazzle audience with wacky characters, needlessly extensive lore, and mystery boxes that would keep film theory busy for years.
In just 30 minutes, the pilot alone has more content than whole seasons of other shows.
The best way I could describe the convoluted writing of Hazbin Hotel—
It's so true. But there's like... he's saying that it wasn't necessary, and he's making a great point. The show didn't need all of the convoluted writing to be good, because it had such a great premise and such great characters that if they made a comedy show based on the characters succeeding and then keep cycling the characters with new characters, the show could have went on forever and would have been funny.
Hotel is as though the writers wrote down cool ideas, put them all in a hat, put that hat in a blender, and then tried to make a story out of the bits of paper connected by the thread from that hat. The show didn't have to be as complicated as it is now. You could have just focused on redemption, with each episode tackling an individual sin, exploring the reasons behind it, and how to overcome it. But no, we had to introduce turf wars, grand conspiracies, battles between angels and demons, murder mysteries, and so on and so forth. Look, I'm glad that VivziePop got a chance to make her show. I'm sure she spent years developing all kinds of ideas.
What's up with the black nails, Vivzie? We don't need black nails in our life. Come on. At what time do you grow out of black nails? That sounds mean because I'm judging her character. Like actual persona, I'm just saying your physical appearance doesn't matter if your internal appearance is great. And I'm sure Vivzie's internal appearance is wonderful because she does such a great show and cares about so many people. I just don't think the black nails really fit her aesthetic.
and I can understand her excitement about showcasing them. But the greatest creators are those who can curate those ideas and adapt them in a way that fits the central theme of the story.
The hardest single thing to do as a filmmaker is to choose your subject. What are you going to do? A bit like being a painter, what are you going to paint? And when you first begin, there's a million options, and because one tends to go in circles. As you get more experienced or get more, older, your choices become more focused.
As the show is right now, I don't think the writers could even tell me what the theme is. They'd probably resort to just giving me the synopsis again. And you can really sense the aimlessness, not only in the plot, but in the narrative too. Let's break down episode 2, for example. We start with Charlie freaking out about the angels cutting the deadline of the extermination by half, which motivates her to go out and look for more guests for the hotel. Then, Sir Pentious attacks the hotel and challenges Alistair.
There you are.
So we need to introduce Sir Pentious. While he introduces himself, he mentions the V's.
Wait, who are the V's?
Oh, nobody important.
So we cut to the V's, because obviously we need to introduce them now. We get to see Vox Tech and what it does, and then we're introduced to Vox. Vox gets a call from Velvet, so we need to introduce her. She also sets up a new conflict and introduces Valentino. But we're not done yet, as we now follow Vox on his route to Velvet, during which he introduces Vox Tech Angelic Security and also mentions Carmilla.
Try to get that bitch Carmilla on the books.
At this point, I was expecting us to cut to Carmilla and find out what her deal is. Luckily, we don't. But we still go to Velvet's boutique and watch her pick dresses. Riveting. After that, we go to introduce Valentino, his relationship with Angel Dust, his relationship with Vox, and Vox's relationship with Alistair. Oh hey, we cut back to the hotel. Oh wait, no, never mind, we cut back to the V's. At this point, do you even remember what the original goal of the episode was? Oh, and did I mention that this episode is about...
Was the original goal to introduce the V's? He's right. I don't remember the original goal of the episode.
About apologizing and forgiveness? Yeah, that comes halfway through the episode. Long story short, the creators took away screen time from Charlie to introduce a bunch of side characters and side plots that aren't even that interesting or relevant to the main conflict set up by the start of the episode. And sure, many animated shows have an A plot and a B plot, but in this case there's like 5 different plots going at the same time. That's what I mean about idea hat in the blender. Honestly, it wouldn't be so bad if they paced out the episode and actually focused more on Charlie and Sir Pentious. Let the fight play out as it did and Sir Pentious gets sent flying across town. Charlie feels bad for him and goes to make sure he's okay. We can then zoom in on the drone and see the Vox watching the whole fight play out. We have the song and rework the lyrics a bit to introduce the V's and let them scheme. Cut back to Charlie finding Sir Pentious. She helps him up, and the two have a genuine conversation. From what I gathered, Sir Pentious is a fairly decent guy who seems to be a villain only to earn respect and not be looked down on. Something I'm sure Charlie could relate to.
If they don't kill you, go ahead and do it yourself, you miserable failure!
I think
Yeah, so they're relatable. That's good.
Dad was right about me.
Allowing them to already establish a bond. She offers him an alternative to villainy and takes him back to the hotel. Then the episode could play out pretty much as it does, though I would probably have Pentious do something other than set up spy cameras, considering the show established that they don't work on Alistair.
This face was made for radio.
That is a good point. I didn't even think of that. I think he was using spy cams so Vox could see around the hotel, not that to get a information.
It should be
on
something
Alistair.
that would hurt Charlie more, which would give Pentious more agency in his decision. I mean, it would be nice to have an ethical dilemma in a show about redemption, you know? Unfortunately, the creators are too busy spinning too many plates all at once. With the amount of things going on, we rarely spend time redeeming souls. In half a year, we only managed to redeem 1 soul. If overpopulation was actually a real thing in hell, I don't think Charlie's Hazbin Hotel would have solved the problem.
In short, any way you're calculating this, there is no way that Charlie's Hotel accomplishes its true mission in under 14 million souls.
14 million souls.
I like watching you recommend streamer to watch. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
I think the subplots could have worked if they had any relevance to the main plot. So for example, if episode 3 was about trust, you could have had the Hazbin Hotel crew learning about trust, while showcasing how the lack of trust is affecting the overlords during the meeting. But no, the meeting was just there to introduce some new characters and some side plots. Besides the exposition, they don't even discuss anything in that meeting.
Yeah, the meeting ended up being completely worthless because Velvet took over the stage that one probably wouldn't have happened because Velvet's not considered a real overlord like the other, like Vox is. Vox should have been the one coming. And they didn't discuss any of the population issues at all. They discussed like a bunch of worthless things, and then she got upset and kicked everyone out.
Camilla and Velvet just have an argument, and the meeting kind of just ends. Even the side character was like...
Absolutely right.
What the hell? We literally just got here.
Great. At least you're aware of how pointless this scene was. Honestly, all you need to do is sit down and pinpoint exactly what the theme of the show is. Is it about chasing one's dream, redemption, justice, morality, late-stage capitalism,
None of those.
fantasy warfare, corruption, the nature of free will, rebellion?
The answer is it's none of those. It's whatever that popped into her head because she didn't know how to write a real show yet. She just was like, we got to throw things together, and then we're gonna fix it in season 2. Where let's try our best. Let's try our best, and let's make it relatable to as many people as possible.
Because the show plays with all these themes, but never really focuses on one, which is what makes the story so convoluted. Sorry if I sound harsh, but ignorance simply means a lack of research or understanding of the subject a writer is tackling. Do you know the common phrase, write what you know? It's a good rule to have that grounds the writer and allows them to take inspiration from their personal experiences and the knowledge that they already have. However, there's also another phrase that should accompany the first one, which is, do your research. If you're going to tackle things such as the biblical heaven and hell, and the topics of redemption, you have to have a fundamental understanding of those.
Hey, guess what? That's what my whole series is about that I did on reactions. And calling out all the stupid nonsense that she did, and making good points when she actually did a bunch of research.
Those topics. This means doing more research than just watching a YouTube video on Paradise Lost.
It is sexy Satan.
Dude. I wasn't ready.
Called out God in front of all of his friends. There was a big old war in heaven, and Satan and his friends unsurprisingly lost.
Getting the research done early will...
So true. It's somewhat, like, other than all the little minor details that she thrown in there from... And I think she did a way better job in High Level Boss explaining stuff. But it does feel like that a little bit.
Actually improve your writing, your character design, and your world building. Hazbin Hotel lacks those fundamentals, and it does affect the quality of the story. Sure, you'll see pentagrams, devil horns, angel wings, and characters with the same name as their biblical counterparts. But
and I brought this up when I was watching Hell of Boss in season 2. If you took all the names out of everything there was, none of this, like, this could have been replaced by anything.
Besides the surface level similarities, Vivzi Pop's interpretation of the afterlife is sterile. Think of all the imaginative depictions of hell that we had throughout.
Look at this. This is all straight from like Dante's Inferno, dude. The Divine Comedy has so much to go off. They could have made hell so much more.
History. And the most Hazbin Hotel could do is a slightly more rundown Los Angeles. The best way to describe this hell is GTA 5 multiplayer with a demonic texture pack. Everyone's a jerk, and you might get killed randomly. Speaking of death, this criticism has been brought up many times by other people. But what happens when a sinner is killed? Do they go to super hell, or do they just cease to exist? If it's the latter, then it's pretty antithetical to the point of hell. After all, hell is meant to be an eternal place of agony that no one can escape, not even through death. The fact that sinners laugh at Charlie's idea pretty much confirms that hell is not a place of endless torment and suffering. It just seems to be a normal world with a hellish coat of paint and looser laws. Sinners here have jobs, own property, go to nightclubs, make relationships, friends and enemies, start businesses, and live pretty decent afterlives. Instead of a government, hell is being run by powerful overlords who run different businesses or industries. It's basically an anarcho-capitalist's wet dream. I guess one could describe that as hell. And heaven isn't all that different either. Sure, you have no death or carnage, but it still looks like a Californian city, with its coffee shops, billboards, and multi-story buildings. Imagine being a good, decent person all your life, only to end up working as a barista and live in an apartment in the afterlife.
I'm pretty sure they're saying that everything is great and wonderful and there was nothing bad and everything was given to you in heaven is what they were trying to show.
In the show, heaven and hell don't really have a symbolic meaning. They're basically just different nations with not too much differentiating them. While this may not necessarily be a bad thing, as many creators will have different interpretations of established lore,
But Vivzi Pop, like, described to me in a comment that I had a while back is agnostic or atheist, of one of those. She didn't really care. She was just using it as a template for her show, and she didn't really care about the lore, so it doesn't really, like, as much as I like to throw my 2 cents into it, doesn't really affect her in any way. But she definitely...
It does showcase a lack of fundamental understanding of the heaven and hell mythos. None of the characters know what gets anyone into heaven. It may just be because the creators themselves don't know. Maybe Hazbin Hotel could have taken a page from the TV series Lucifer.
I take no part
Yeah, that would have been amazing. Lucifer was awesome.
in who goes to hell. Then who does? You humans. You send yourselves, driven down by your own guilt. The best part? The doors aren't locked. You could leave any time.
Ironically enough, they almost had this with...
So, yeah, sure.
Sir Pinchas.
Who, me?
Even as the comedic relief, I'd argue that he's the most well-written character in the show, and actually has an arc. It's pretty clear that he's not a bad guy, but he feels like he has to be in order to gain respect from others. It's a sign of low self-esteem, which is made even more clear through his interaction with Cherry Bomb.
Miss Bomb, I'd like to buy you a drink.
Why? Didn't you say we're arch rivals?
Because I'm buying everyone a drink.
Insecurities.
He's shy, awkward, and timid around her because he believes he's not good enough for her. But by building a friendship with the Hazbin Hotel team and earning their respect, he builds up his confidence and the courage to show his true feelings.
Miss Cherry Bomb, I love you. Remember me.
That was kind of hot.
And perform a heroic and selfless act. It's a shame the show didn't utilize on this and simply played his death for laughs. The reason for that is probably sin number 5. Ugh.
They did have a lot of subversion problems in this
Version.
show.
Ever since the Star Wars sequels, this has become a loaded word that tends to start long-winded media debates.
Objection! Lame and unoriginal.
Sustained.
On its own, subverting the audience's expectation is not necessarily a sin, as it can be used for comedy and some unique storytelling. It's a tool used to challenge established norms and offer fresh perspectives on the subject. Shrek is a great example of that, as it uses subversion for comedy and manages to teach our viewers that it's our actions that define us, and not who we are or what we are. And subverting the fairy tale tropes allows the creators to do that.
You're not exactly what I expected.
South Park is also great at subverting expectations, by often depicting kids as smarter than the adults of the town.
This is making insanely good sense to me.
Using this to provide fun and insightful social commentary. But nowadays, many writers tend to be subversive for subversion's sake, using their art to critique the old, established norms without...
I agree with this statement. But subversion can be used for good. It's just most people don't use it well for good.
Offering new or better perspectives. You're just getting the worst of both worlds. Not only are you not offering anything insightful, you're also harming your own story and characters. Some tropes are there for a very good reason, so it would be wise if you understand why they're there to begin with, before you start subverting them. Going back to Hazbin Hotel, what kind of expectations is the show subverting?
Sup?
I don't know, how about that some angels are just as sinful, murderous, and corrupt as the demons? That's a pretty big one.
That is
Quick, Badgie's cut mouth out or ass.
You just chill, Loot.
But why, you may ask? Wouldn't this be an interesting and fresh take on the dichotomy of angels and demons, allowing us to see the goodness of demons and the flaws of the angels? It would be great if not for the fact that the premise of the show is to rehabilitate demons to be virtuous enough to get into heaven. You know, where angels are? If heaven is full of violent jerks, then what virtues are the demons meant to aspire to? It doesn't work. You could have still had angels as the bad guys by presenting them as arrogant and stubborn, unwilling to entertain the idea that sinners could ever reach the same level of holiness. You didn't have to make them complete psychopaths. Speaking of psychopaths, Hazbin Hotel has a very subversive way of portraying characters where I can't really tell whether they're good guys or bad guys. Ambiguity can be good, but it's not what I have in mind. Typically, you'd have the villain display negative traits such as rudeness, violent tendencies, impatience, general lack of care. You know, something that makes us dislike them, and something that works well with their position as a villain. But in Hazbin Hotel, all is unclear. Everyone swears at each other, flips each other off, even acts violently towards one another. Ironically, we
didn't need that much cursing in this series. It wasn't necessary. It really wasn't.
Overlords, the ones who apparently are the most sadistic and dangerous, are also the ones that are most polite, patient, caring, and displaying more kindness than even some of the angels and lesser sinners.
Think of who you care about, protect them and
The show hints that these guys are the most dangerous beings in hell, but then you watch them comfort each other, show politeness, civility, and you start to question whether they're actually as evil as the show is trying to make them appear. And I could see that working. These overlords could be the most powerful, but with an absent Lucifer, they're also in charge of keeping order in hell and developing some of those positive traits as a professional requirement. But that's just my speculation. It could also be that the creators just...
I don't think that was really necessary, though. I don't think that was a necessary look on them defining who they are. Like, these two weren't even... we don't even know what they did.
Just care about the overlords more, and they don't want them to appear as immature brats. You know, like the rest of the characters. Oh, and speaking of Lucifer, have you been subverted by the fact that the King of Hell is actually a nice guy with depression who makes rubber duckies? I sure have, especially since that undermines Charlie's daddy issues and Lucifer's own depression. Now, I know that depression comes in many different forms, and sometimes the most cheerful people can be the most depressed. But would anyone even think that Lucifer had depression if he didn't flat out say it?
Depression.
I don't think so.
No,
when I
no
think of a
one would ever
depressed
think
ruler
that.
of hell, I think of Dark Souls.
None will have meaning, and you won't even care.
Imagine how cool it would have been if we saw Charlie looking at her father withering away in the darkness, a warning of what happens when one loses hope and gives up. But hey, if you want that cheerful angle, maybe we could have seen him in front of a mirror forcing himself to be upbeat and cheerful for the sake of his daughter. That would have recontextualized his antics and made them a bit more meaningful. It would have made him breaking down much more impactful too. But no, he's just quirky from the start, which makes his second song almost out of character for him. Hazbin Hotel seems to have also taken a page from Marvel films and other adult animations when it comes to subversive humor. The most egregious subversion is when a serious or tragic moment is played for a laugh. It's such a gamble when you use it. On one hand, you have a joke, and you need those for comedy. On the other hand, you could have engaged your audience on a much more meaningful level by showing the respect for that tragic moment. And boy, if that joke doesn't land, you lost the chance to have either. So
Yeah,
you
you
remember
lost
Sir
everything you
Pinch's
were doing.
sacrifice in the season finale. The guy was ready to save the day with a heroic attack, only to be poofed out of existence before he could do anything.
That could have been ugly.
Sure,
Yeah,
I
I
can
guess
see
it
how
was
that's
supposed to be
funny,
comedy.
but do you really want that kind of a cheap gag to send off one of the most likable characters in the show? The real subversion would have been actually giving the comic relief character a win, or at least do some kind of impact. Because now, he started off as a completely useless and harmless villain, and he finished by being a completely useless and harmless hero. It's a shame, but at least
But that's character development. He did have character development, and that was good.
he's not out of the picture yet. All in all, subversion can be a useful tool to explore different points of view and question the status quo in a fun and creative way, but it requires a level of maturity for it to be successful. Oh hey, we're in sin number 6. Immaturity. Hazbin Hotel joins its contemporaries by being another show that uses excessive swearing, violence, sexual themes, and offensive visuals as part of its comedy. On one hand, when you're dealing with hell and
We don't really
sinners,
need to
it
see
seems
this.
appropriate. On the other hand, it's getting really stale by now. And it might not even be Hazbin Hotel's fault. If this show had come out 15 years ago, it might have been seen as a rebellious show that is pushing boundaries of adult animation. But now, when almost all of the adult shows are doing it, it does give the impression that the whole animation industry is just filled with overgrown teenagers who think swearing and sex jokes are funny.
And guess what? I hate most things that include gore or swearing. The only reason I even like this show and like the premise and still enjoy it, you know, I've been giving it a lot of flack, but I still like it, is because it was unique and it showed an aesthetic of heaven and hell that I haven't seen before, and I thought it was really interesting.
Wiener.
That was pretty funny.
Those jokes can be funny, yes, but I'm a bit worried that that's the only type of humor we're gonna get from adult shows. I'm not going to say anything new here, but I find it strange that there are still writers who believe that their work needs to have violence, sex, and swearing to be seen as grown up or mature. Ironically, in most cases, the results are actually the opposite.
Kaguya is at the stage where kids laugh at words like wiener and boobs.
It's a phase everyone goes through.
And while it's difficult to determine how much graphic content is the right amount, it's pretty clear that too much of it makes the story appear more immature than not using it at all.
This is classy art.
To say the characters of Hazbin Hotel swear a lot would be an understatement,
Stop.
but it's clear
I'm
it's something the show is
don't-
proud of.
don't make fun of me. I can be like 5 years old sometimes.
But simply told the critics that it's a type of comedy that she
Wait, what
likes,
the
and if
frick?
they don't like
Wait. What did she say?
address the swearing issue.
People make a hell of a boss just swearing sex laugh jokes influenced by Seth Rogen. I love Seth Rogen comedies. They're hysterical. But no, I don't like the F word. You don't need
But
to
simply
use it all
told the
the
critics that it's a type of comedy that she likes, and if they don't like
don't
it,
curse,
they don't have to
and,
watch it.
like,
Not the best mindset to
I
have,
stay
but
away
okay.
from hard
She notes that
cursing,
she grew up with
'cause I just
Seth
don't
Rogen
like it.
comedies and South Park and used that as her inspiration. The swearing is so important to her that Amazon even ran a marketing campaign where the cast had to say as many swear words as they could within a time frame.
I think I only know 3 swear words.
All the love him. All the love him. He gets.
Ooh, very edgy. A quick note about South Park. The reason why the main characters swear a lot in the show is because they're immature kids. Trey Parker and Matt Stone wanted to capture how kids would typically speak when their parents aren't around. So it was meant to create a sense of authenticity.
I'll bet if you eavesdropped on a bunch of 4th graders today, the language would be pretty close to what you hear on South Park.
And guess what? No kid swears like that nowadays. And no, well, kids maybe more or less, but no adult swears like that.
I think we talked like this when I was in 4th and 5th grade. And it was like, let's do a show where kids talk the way kids talk.
Randy swears the most because he's typically portrayed as a man-child, so it makes sense for him to swear a lot. Meanwhile, I don't see the narrative purpose behind the swearing in Hazbin Hotel.
Yeah,
it
there
doesn't
is
really
none.
differentiate one character from another. It seems that the only reason for the swearing is because the creator thinks it's cool, which is indicative of an immature writer. But honestly, the swearing fits the overall childish and nihilistic tone that the show
fact.
presents. Almost every character talks and acts
Make a
like they came
point
straight
of
out of
fact.
high school.
It's not an act.
It's not a phase, Mom!
Their designs are so busy and necessarily complicated that they would give Cole Steele the Hedgehog a run for his money. The Exorcists look like they belong on a My Chemical Romance cover. And hell itself
there was
looks
a
a lot
reason
like what I expect the Amazing Atheist to describe hell as. Not a place of torture and damnation, but a cool place where freethinkers and rebels party, drink, and have sex.
Whoever thinks that is a complete moron. Hell is eternal damnation if hell even exists, because for me, I believe it's just heaven, where you get in or you try again. But if you do believe in hell, it's definitely not for free thinkers or anything good. No, it's so you burn your toes off for all eternity. Maybe you get tickled by a feather for the rest of your life.
Come to
Rest of your
think of it, the
days.
show does fill me with a sense of nostalgia for that early 2000s emo kid phase that many of us probably went through. I could imagine an edgy teen's notebook filled with sketches that would probably fit into the Hazbin Hotel universe. With that in mind, I think I'm starting to understand why the writing keeps shifting away from the hotel itself. The creators aren't mature enough yet to tackle serious subjects such as depression, addiction, abuse, acceptance, or redemption. They can do the sinning and rebelling part well, but what can they offer for those wanting to improve themselves or escape a toxic lifestyle? Some corporate team building exercises?
This is stupid.
Hazbin Hotel is not exactly interested in delving into the world of psychology, self-improvement, or philosophy beyond the surface level. They skirt the issues the characters have and don't directly deal with them in any kind of mature or relatable way. They are tough issues, sure,
No,
but if
they
you're not going to
deal with
tackle
them
them,
as
why even have
children.
them? Just do your fun songs, cool action scenes, mystery, and dark backstories. I know I like to bash on BoJack Horseman, but at least that show wasn't afraid of tackling some pretty intense subjects maturely.
It gets easier.
Huh?
Every day it gets a little easier.
Yeah?
But you gotta do it every day. That's the hard part. But it does get easier.
I may dislike the characters and the expository writing, but some scenes actually made me stop and think about the subject they were exploring. That's Too Much Man and The View from Halfway Down will always stick with me, and they aren't even the best episodes.
No! I really should have thought about the view from halfway down!
Find your peace, big guy. Find it.
BoJack Horseman had moments to explore the existential dread and the core of someone's flaws in a very honest way, without sacrificing the comedy. I feel like Hazbin Hotel would have benefited from a few of those scenes, but again, it would require the creators to have a serious introspection, which can be intimidating.
But it's such a bummer, man.
Instead, let's have those issues resolved.
I think they were afraid of some of the topics in the show and afraid of alienating some of their viewers and offending some people, so they didn't put it in the show, which made them look bad. It's not that they were afraid of the topics, they were afraid of losing an audience.
Themselves within a few episodes, so we can get to the quirky and fun parts. Luckily, Vivzie Pop will still have a long career ahead of her, and I'm sure she will hone in on her writing and storytelling skills. That is, if she doesn't commit the final sin.
Back in 2022, I lost 2 very important people in my life. Big figures. It really wasn't until...
Pride is a sin commonly found in younger writers who often overestimate their own writing capabilities. I'm sure most writers are proud of their work to some extent, but it becomes a problem when they're so proud of their writing they completely ignore the criticism towards them and refuse to improve their craft. Because creators put so much of themselves into their work, criticism can often appear as a personal attack or hate towards them.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
And thus, the criticism gets ignored, and the same mistakes are done again and again.
You don't have to mollycoddle me. I want to improve my writing. Tell me your real thoughts.
All right, well, I'm not a huge fan, personally, of the whole 3 weeks earlier teaser thing.
Get out.
What?
This happens all the time in Hollywood, where creators perceive criticism as sexism, bigotry, or just some online trolling. This isn't a new thing, but it's amusing to see the Hollywood industry taking a page from the author of My Immortal.
If you do not like my story, then f*** off.
What?
Stop flaming or I'll report you. Evany isn't a Mary Sue, okay? She is...
Rick and Morty Fire. I have actually not seen Rick and Morty. It does not interest my lifestyle.
Isn't perfect. She's a Satanist.
The problem with this mindset is that you're missing the opportunity to improve your skills and utilize the free feedback you receive. After all, if you already think that your writing is perfect, why would you need to improve? Of course, I can understand ignoring some criticism, especially when you're...
The answer is no one's perfect, and everyone should take criticism and learn from that. Like, I get a lot of YouTube comments now. I respond to each one. I read each one. No, I've seen like maybe 1 or 2 that I just ignore, but then take the other criticism and actually use it in when making new videos or reactions. I genuinely learn from my mistakes, take people's criticism, and use it, and it doesn't offend me. I want to hear it. But I guess it's just not most
online
people.
Creator. Not everyone makes articulate points, and they can be rather passionate, which often results in unproductive critique.
Wow! That was shit.
But considering the Hazbin Hotel pilot came out over 4 years ago, I feel like Vivzie Pop had plenty of time to receive some constructive feedback and could have made improvements for the Amazon series. Sadly, I don't think that was done. The same issues that were brought up in the pilot as well as Hell of a Boss are still present in Hazbin Hotel. In some cases, I think the writing in the pilot is slightly better than the show.
I came here because I love seeing wasteful souls struggle to accomplish something meaningful and fail spectacularly.
Why do you want to help me if you don't believe in my cause?
Consider it an investment in ongoing entertainment for myself. I want to watch the scum of the world struggle to climb up the hill of betterment, only to repeatedly trip and tumble down to the fiery pit of failure.
Yeah,
which is surprising considering the show had 9 other writers to help out. The counter-argument to this would be that Vivzie Pop has a huge, dedicated fan base who likes her work the way it is now. So why change it, right? Maybe. But just because a lot of people like something doesn't make it good. It makes it profitable. I can see the appeal of Vivzie Pop's works. Her animations are far above a lot of her contemporaries, and her character designs do speak to a lot of nonconformist minds out there. The show clearly had a lot of time put into it, in order to be fun, visually appealing, and entertaining. But I can't help but wonder how amazing it would have been if the same care was put into the writing as well. While I praise Vivzie Pop's talent and determination, I feel that maybe she's a little bit too determined. She clearly has a vision and sticks to it without making too many compromises. You can tell that in her...
And this is something I've always said. A woman with conviction is very attractive. There's no in it or buts. It's just facts.
Art style,
and I'm sure that she's bringing a bunch of men in for how she is so well off, even though I believe she is something that isn't a person that likes men. Audience comments can yell at me in the comments, please. I forget what she is. Don't yell. Yell at me, but just be polite about it.
And animation. She had so many little details and complexities to her character designs. I can imagine the nightmare of animating them. Yet, she does it anyway. Logistics be damned. I feel like the same kind of overambitious mindset is reflecting in her convoluted writing too. She tries to stuff as much lore into the series as she can, regardless whether that's going to affect the consistency, pacing, or coherency. This overambition is reflected in Charlie's character too. A girl built a hotel even before finding out whether she can redeem a sinner. Her entire premise is based on, trust me bro, it will work. She never gives evidence or a plan how to redeem a sinner. All she has is a pitch and a dream of it working.
And an
Whenever
idea.
anyone brings some valid concerns, she just goes, ooh, these are my people, I have to try.
I don't know how much you can realistically expect from them in heaven.
These are our people, Dad. I have to try.
Do you?
Our shared problem of overpopulation in hell.
Is it a shared problem?
That's not a problem. We got that covered.
Those are my people.
Charlie, do you know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions? Despite how much she wants it, she never seems to be prepared to address the issues or give a reasonable plan of action.
We've done trust falls. We've tried sharing our feelings. We only have a couple months left before the angels come home.
For the most part, it appears that she's pretty much winging it and hoping for the best, almost like Vivzy Pop herself. In fact, the show makes a lot more sense if you interpret it as an animator trying to get her show greenlit. She has to go to pitch meetings with people in power who tend to dismiss her and reject her ideas.
Man, I didn't even think about that.
Stop you right there. Save us all precious time.
She has to endure the mockery of her peers
Oh, looks like your little hotel didn't work out so well.
and the disappointment of her parents.
Oh, this place sure looks,
But, through sheer determination and help from her supportive friends, she achieves her goal. It's interesting to see that show through that perspective, and it can explain a lot of the writing and directing
highly
decisions.
interesting.
I am
Actually,
very
I
much
didn't
a
even
mix
think
between
about that at
Baggy
all.
and Charlie though, because like Charlie, like all the like obstacles she faced, like, you know, people being shitty and people like saying you'll never accomplish this or whatever, like that's kind of a common experience for any kind of creator. And I feel like the stubbornness she has is something that I've had to have, like just keeping going. Like
Whether or not that was Vivzy Pop's intention, I don't know. But as I watched the
I don't
show,
know
I
either.
felt that Vivzy Pop almost needed to take a step back and think beyond herself and the things she likes. Maybe some characters aren't as necessary as others. Maybe you don't need so many subplots. Maybe some of the designs could be simplified to better represent the character's personality and sin. Maybe you shouldn't dress everyone in steampunk and Victorian attire.
Is it 1750? Burn it like the witches who wore it.
Maybe some of the
That
characters
was a
shouldn't be
funny joke,
furries.
though.
Creators will ask these questions only when they're ready to accept that their work is flawed and needs to be changed.
Cut! Okay, Angel, I need you to be less horny if possible.
Sadly, I don't think this video will be watched by Vivzy, and if it will, it won't matter because they already started voicing lines for season 2, which means the script was already written and they won't be able to make any drastic or radical changes to improve it. Season 2 will most likely have the very same issues that I pointed out in this video. However, I didn't make this video for Vivzy Pop or to critique her. The same sins can be found in all modern writing, which is a thing I would like to change. So I hope that some aspiring writers will take my advice into
I love
consideration
that.
as they write their own stories. Thank you all for watching. I think this is the last time I'm making such a long video. Looks like the 70% of you were right, but I hope this was fun and informative for you.
Yeah, I love this. This was a great video. This was really good. Go check them out, seriously. This was wonderful. All right. For those on YouTube, I will see you tomorrow. If you're watching me live on Twitch, we're gonna have a quick intermission, and I will be right back. Here, I'll check right now.